Hello and welcome to my shop. Today I'm going to be beefing up the jaws of this bench vise. I've been wanting to do this for some time and I found 2 pieces of 8/4 hard maple in my scraps, so today is the day. First I'll flatten the face of one piece. Then I'll plane the thickness. Back at the joiner I'll joint one edge. Cut to length at the miter sled. And then rip to width at the table saw. I have one knot in this piece that is actually open on 3 faces. It's not really a big concern, but I'll fix it with epoxy anyway. First, to dam up 2 of the 3 openings. To do this, I'll put blue tape across 2 of the holes on the faces of this board. And using scraps, I'll clamp those scraps or cut-offs across the blue tape to make a good seal. I'll use the bench vise to hold it, and I'll level it to prevent any epoxy from draining down the piece and off the end. I'm using Total Boat's deep penetrating 2-part epoxy. This is actually made for filling and strengthening knots. I'll add just a little bit of brown color to it, even though this section of this piece will never be seen. I start adding the epoxy to the knot and allowing it to soak in all that it will until I have a small puddle standing on the top. The next day I'll remove the clamps and tape, and using a hand plane I'll remove that little puddle. Now to remove the old jaws, which was actually a piece of pine and a piece of plywood. I only remove the rear jaw first and reveal the steel plate. I measure and line up the center and then measure how high the piece is above the table. This tells me how much I will need to notch out for the bars and the threaded rod at the bottom. Looks like 1 inch. Using the combination square, I'll mark each bar's location on the piece and I'll give myself a little wiggle room. And I'll mark that 1 inch up from side to side. I drill the corners out with a Forstner bit and then cut the notch at the bandsaw. Then I'll clean up just a little bit with a spindle sander. I want these jaws flush with the top of my workbench, so I'll clamp 2 pieces of wood down on top of the bench and pull the piece up flush, and using the vise itself I'll clamp it in place. I'm going to recess the steel plate inside the rear jaw, so I'll mark across the top of the plate, and since the vise is holding the piece I can remove the other clamps and the wood pieces. Since there is not room to mark the sides, I will take steel rules and clamp them to the piece using spring clamps, giving me the exact location of the sides of the steel plate. Then I can remove the piece from the vise and mark the sides of the plate's location. This plate is 5/8 of an inch thick, so I'll need to remove a lot of material, and I'll be using the router to do this, removing 1/4 of an inch on the first and second pass and 1/8 of an inch on the last pass. I'll need a way to support the router for this second pass. I use double-sided Scotch tape to hold a 1/4 inch strip in place, which it don't take a whole lot to hold this in place. Then I remove the center out of the piece, keeping the router base on each edge. Once the center is removed, I place a 1/2 inch piece in the center and remove both sides. I just keep repeating this process until I am 5/8 of an inch deep. Then a little cleanup in the corners and the piece slides into place. Now to remove the front jaw, and I'm sure you've noticed already. Yeah, I'll clean that up. I mark the front jaw and do the same process again, but I'll save you that. Using the old rear jaw plate, I'll drop it into the trenches and use it as a template to pre-drill and countersink, and then I can attach the new jaw. To attach the front jaw, I'll just drop it in the vise, line it up with the rear jaw and tighten it down and lock it in place. I'll pre-drill and then add the screws. I think this will work out just fine for me. If you liked the video, please hit that thumbs up button, punch that subscribe button in the face, and leave me a comment. And as always, thanks for watching.